Hello and welcome back to another episode of All in a Day of Sports. I'm your host, Salman. It's great to have you guys back here for another episode, a special Sunday edition. Just a reminder, follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. It really helps because if you drop a follow and you enjoy the podcast, it helps more people to explore it other than you just sharing it directly. And another reminder, we will be back to our regular schedule next week of releasing on Mondays. Without any further ado, let's just get straight into this episode. So, what did you miss in this last week of sports? Well, there wasn't a lot of news in this last week, but there was important news because on Friday, LeBron James finally made his decision as to where he was going to play, and he decided that he would play with the Philadelphia 76ers. And that move, it's his fourth different team in his career. He's obviously played with his hometown Cavaliers, he's played with the Miami Heat, and then he's played with the Lakers. This move came as a shock to much of the sports world. I actually thought that this was a great fit for him going into it if he wanted to win. Maybe not necessarily legacy and storyline wise, but thought this was a win-win for both teams in terms of the signing, but kind of a shock to the media. And the reason I think this signing was so good is because I talked about this with the Jaylen Brown trade, how good the starting lineup would be. Now you have to imagine this with LeBron James. Here is their starting five in the order that I think are the options. So, like the order I think who the number one option is, who the number two option is, not necessarily the positions. So they have Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and LeBron James. And I don't actually necessarily think LeBron James is a fifth option, but he is actually down there. And what I think is for the first time in his career. I mean, last year with Lakers, he was probably closer to the three option, but it was, especially near the end of the season, both Austin Reeves and Luka weren't healthy. So he kind of transitioned back to being the number one option. And so this is very interesting because it feels like, especially on paper, such an unstoppable lineup. I mean, Joel Embiid was in the conversation for MVP quite a few times. Also, Jaylen Brown at one point last year was also in the conversation for MVP. Tyrese Maxey is just an insanely talented player who's very developed. VJ Edgecombe, one of the best rookies of last year. And then obviously, four-time champion LeBron James, though he is near the end of his career, still has the skill, as he showed in the playoffs last year. Maybe can't sustain it as the number one option, but that's why he's not the number one option here. The wild card factors, though, are that Joel Embiid does need to stay healthy because he is the viable option at center. But other than that, it feels like they've built such a fail-safe option. If Joel Embiid goes down, if LeBron goes down, if one of these players go down, or even two, it's still such a formidable lineup. Especially starting five, let alone the fact that they have depth. And so I was looking for storylines across the media about this story, and they were very mixed. I would say majority of the media thinks this is a good move, but some of them don't. And the reason they don't is because I'm going to talk about this in more detail with some stats in just a second, but because they're worried LeBron might get in the way. Well, why do you say that? If you look at the percentage of ball control that each of these players had for their team last season, and you combine those percentages, it's over 100%. I believe it's nearly 50%. Oh, it's nearly 150%. So, I mean, these aren't the specific numbers, but let's say a player on a team had 40% of their team's ball, and then another player had 20%, another player had 15%, and so on until the percentages add up to 100. This team has over 100%. So somebody's going to need to take a big step back next season, and it's going to be interesting to see who. You might think that the younger player like VJ Edgecombe might have to take a step back because he's not necessarily, in terms of ball control, because he's not necessarily the veteran and the personality in that locker room. But I'm not sure. Everyone will have to handle the ball less, and many of these players' games rely on having the ball much more. So that's why it may not work. I think personally, my personal opinion, I think LeBron James is a better option than Dean Wade, but he really does have to be okay with sharing the ball. He did say this in his post when he officially announced he was going to the 76ers, but they really have to function as a team, the 76ers, and it feels like the game plan has to be perfect. Otherwise, they may not necessarily execute. However, just the pure talent on this lineup is insane. So that was your NBA news in this past week. Moving on to the NFL, Patrick Mahomes got cleared for training camp this upcoming week. He tore his ACL and LCL last season in week 15 in December. And that means he should likely be ready to go in week 1. So if that affects your predictions for the Chiefs, we will be talking about the NFL more as the season ramps up. We're, I believe, a month or so away from the season beginning. And in the MLB, the Red Sox tied an 80-year-old franchise record with 15 straight wins, but they lost it to the Orioles on Wednesday. They actually got the 15-game win streak and lost on the same day because their game before was postponed and they had a doubleheader. And so they lost the Orioles 5-1 to lose their streak, but still pretty impressive to see how this Boston Red Sox team is just improving, and could possibly be contenders in October. And then in other sports, if you're still missing the World Cup, I got some news for you. World Cup star Vozinha signed with the Chilean team Colo Colo. Just a good story. He's 40 years old. I mean, his career is not necessarily on the upward trend, but just good story to see that he is his stardom kind of carried him to even higher level. He was playing in Portugal before this, I believe. And also in Formula One, the Hungary Grand Prix qualifying was on Saturday, in which Lando Norris claimed pole position for his first time as reigning world champion, and then Lewis Hamilton claimed second place, and Charles Leclerc. Also, just some news if you're following the season heavily, that might be a bit surprising and you missed qualifying. Fernando Alonso of Aston Martin made the second round of qualifying, or Q2, because their team has really been working on aerodynamics. And the reason this is surprising is because Aston Martin's been very, very terrible all season. So it was nice to see them improve a little bit. And just a little tidbit for you to show how narrow these margins are in Formula One. First place and second place, like the difference in lap time was separated by 0.012 seconds. So 12 hundredths of the second was the difference between where each car, the Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton, will start on Sunday. So that's everything that you missed in this past week of sports. Up next, what should you watch? Well, what should you watch in this upcoming week of sports? Well, there isn't much. As I said, we're kind of in that slow season, but is always sports on and then reruns if there isn't a live event on. But if you are listening to this on early Sunday and you're able to listen right after this episode is released at 8 a.m. Eastern on Apple TV, the Hungarian Grand Prix for Formula One will take place. So if you want to watch that race, they're always interesting, and it will be interesting to see if Lando Norris keeps his lead in first place or if Lewis Hamilton can pull out with the win and narrow his gap, especially since Kimi Antonelli qualified fourth. And so it'll be interesting to see if Hamilton can narrow the gap between him and Antonelli. And it feels like George Russell is actually falling off a bit as he finished seventh, I believe, in qualifying. Also, the MLS All-Star Game is on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, also on Apple TV. The way this All-Star Game works is it's actually versus the Liga MX, which is the Mexican league. And so it's the MLS All-Stars versus the Liga MX All-Stars. Messi will not actually be playing because he's very tired from the World Cup, but there are many other stars, including leading scorer in the MLS, Hugo Kuipers from the Chicago Fire. And then also, if you want to turn on some baseball, the Yankees play the White Sox on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday series. That should be interesting as the Yankees are actually second place in their division, but with a better or more wins than the White Sox, and the White Sox are first in their division. So maybe some implications, but also a preview possibly of the upcoming MLB playoffs. So that's everything I think you should watch in this upcoming week of sports. Up next, let's take a stroll down memory lane and react to my very first episode and my predictions for the World Cup and compare it to the current World Cup. So for this final segment, I wanted to kind of look back on my World Cup predictions because maybe for better or for worse, I still kind of miss the World Cup. So we are going to be reacting in live time to our very first episode and my very first predictions. For the interest of time, I'm going to only review my knockout predictions, but from the first episode, you guys can just let me know in the comments or just let me know however you want if you ever want a full version of the reaction. But for now, we'll just be reacting to my initial knockout predictions. And before we start, I do just want to have two corrections from the last segment. Hugo Kuipers actually transferred to Monterrey in Liga MX, which is the Mexican league, and so he will not be playing in the MLS All-Star game. And then also the Formula One race Sunday morning starts at 9 a.m. Eastern and not 8 a.m. Eastern. So let's just jump into this reaction.
I have in the round of 32 Germany versus US. I have Germany beating US. They just beat them in a friendly. I think they can do it again, and I don't think the US can pull this one through.
Yeah, so that was not a good start to the predictions, as one might say, because I actually ended up predicting that completely wrong. It wasn't even the right matchup. It ended up being Germany versus Paraguay, and Germany did not win, and US actually won their first game, so not a good start at all.
In France versus Sweden, I picked France for obvious reasons.
Got that one right?
Switzerland versus Mexico, I'm taking the upset with Switzerland here. I don't really have a good explanation for that one, just my gut feeling.
Yeah, once again, not a good prediction there. Wrong matchup. It ended up being South Africa versus Canada. Mexico won their first round, and Switzerland did too, to be fair, but yeah, not the right matchup.
Netherlands versus Brazil, I think the Netherlands defense is so good, and I think that the midfield will follow. So I am taking the Netherlands and an early exit for Brazil. That would be a very good game to watch.
Yeah, nope.
Portugal versus Croatia. I know Croatia just doesn't feel as strong, but just again and again, they've made the semifinals, and I think that they'll go far in this tournament again. So Ronaldo's last World Cup, I think he's out in the round of 32. Croatia advancing for me.
Yeah, right matchup, wrong result. But it did, to be fair, end up working out in the end.
And Spain versus Algeria. I don't think I talked about Spain enough when talking about the group stage, but Spain is just so good. It's hard to find a weakness. Maybe they don't have an elite striker, but they have a striker, and I bet other teams would take Spain's backups as starters any day of the week. So that's why I'm taking Spain over Algeria. I'm taking Turkey over Bosnia.
Yeah, I kind of messed up Turkey just a bit. That kind of hurt me. But we'll see.
I'm taking Egypt over South Africa. I don't think that one's actually too much of an upset. I don't think the South Africa team's as strong as some people might think.
Yeah, so I'm realizing with this reaction that it's nearly impossible to predict the exact matchup, and I didn't in most cases, but I think I'm actually ending up with some of the teams right and maybe some of the kind of upsets like with that Egypt call, but I got some of the heavyweights wrong, that's for sure.
Morocco over Japan, because I really do like that Morocco roster.
Yeah, that was
Senegal
okay.
over Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire. I'm taking Senegal because I really like the balance of roster and their speed.
Yeah, neither of those teams won their first round.
Scotland over Korean Republic. I know that's a bit of an upset.
Yeah, and neither of those teams advanced, so not looking good.
England over Norway.
That ended up being a matchup in the quarterfinals, and England did win, so I got that one right. That's nice.
Argentina over Uruguay. I feel like both of those are
Yeah, Argentina won.
all right picks. Belgium over Paraguay. Canada
Nope.
over Ecuador. And Colombia over Panama.
So in terms of round of 32, that wasn't terrible, but I definitely missed on a few. I think it gets better as it goes on, and I think I'll be a happy man once we look at the final.
And now, moving on to the round of 16. I have Germany versus France. I'm going to take France there because of how good they are.
Yeah, that looked okay.
Netherlands over Switzerland. I feel like Netherlands is always a good contender to make it far in this tournament.
Absolutely not.
Spain over Croatia. I'm taking Turkey over Egypt. This is where the team I'm rooting for falls. Just logically, I think that Turkey squad is going to eventually find the weakness of that Egypt maybe defense and back midfield with their defensive approach and take advantage of that.
Egypt did lose, but definitely not to Turkey. That's for sure.
I think Senegal will beat Morocco. Now this is a bit of an upset, but technically Senegal beat Morocco in the AFCON final before a big controversy that with the rules 3 months later the trophy was awarded to Morocco. I think Senegal can do it again.
Yeah, well,
I
Morocco.
just really like the Senegal team. They made the round of 16 last tournament. They couldn't advance from there. I think they will this time.
Morocco beat
Scotland
Canada.
versus England. I think England is going to beat their neighbors. I
England
will
did
take
advance.
Argentina over Belgium. Like I was saying before, I think this Belgium team's a bit overrated.
Belgium and Argentina did advance. That was just a conflict of matchup, so I think I did all right there.
And I will take Colombia over Canada. I really do like this Colombia team.
So Colombia ended up falling to Switzerland here. Not a good look, especially considering, I mean, you'll see later, I originally had Colombia going to the final. So, yeah, I definitely got this one wrong, but I did all right in the quarterfinals, I'd say.
And now in the quarterfinal, I have France beating the Netherlands. I think this is where Netherlands falls just because of how good that French attack is.
Yeah, France
Spain
advanced.
over Turkey,
Spain
for
advanced too.
obvious reasons again. England over Senegal, which
And
I could
England
actually see
advanced.
Senegal winning this, but I'm going to take the higher seed in this one. And Colombia beats Argentina. They couldn't do it in the Copa America final. I think they will do it in the quarterfinal here with Luis Diaz and the rest of their roster.
Look, I stand by this. I think that if Colombia had found a way to beat Switzerland in the penalty shootout, and I think they should have won earlier and faced Argentina, I do believe that that Colombia squad would have beaten the Argentina team. And I don't think I look crazy. Now, looking back on it, if Colombia made it to the semifinals, I do think England would have beaten them because they were kind of dominant and they had just a bad strategy against Argentina. But I do stand by this take, and I am not mad at my past self for choosing this.
And now in the semifinal, France versus Spain in what could probably be the World Cup final, but it's a semifinal in my bracket. I will take Spain. And I know I said how good France is. I just think that Spain is more creative, and I think they'll get it done here.
Look, and that is a game that nearly everyone else had on their brackets, and it ended up happening. And I'm proud of myself for choosing that. Actually, in my later knockout predictions, I ended up having France beat Spain, but I should have stuck by my original opinion. And I don't think many people had France beating Spain, but I did, and I got that one right. So I'm proud of that, and I will take credit for that one.
And now, the other semifinal. Colombia versus England. Harry Kane's chance to finally win a World Cup. I don't think he does it. I like I was saying, this Colombia team, they're good. They're good, and they're a dark horse.
Yeah, definitely not a good look. To be fair, Harry Kane didn't get that trophy. He got his third place trophy, but he didn't get the World Cup trophy. So I got that right. And I mean, I the team I had beating Argentina ended up making it to the final. The team I had beating Argentina, I had making to the final. So I guess you could say I had Argentina making it to the final. But yeah, no, not not a good look to have a team that was eliminated in the round of 32 in the final. But let's look at my final prediction and maybe I get some redemption there.
And so in the final, I have Spain versus Colombia to take home the World Cup trophy. I'm taking Spain. I think Lamine Yamal is the best player in the world, and I think he'll show it here in the biggest stage in the world. And so, according to your host Salman, the World Cup champions will be Spain.
So yeah, there you have it. I got the World Cup champion right. First episode of All in a Day of Sports. That was me. I predicted it from the get go. I will take that win. We are not going to look at the rest of that bracket, and we'll look that I picked the champion correctly. I am very happy about that. I didn't pick them for the right reasons. I mean, Lamine Yamal was important but not crucial like I made it seem. It was the team, as I said in the last episode, that really came together and just different players. But look, I'll take it. There's your reaction. Thank you for listening to this final segment, maybe a bit of a fun segment, and this special Sunday edition. Just a few reminders. We're back to our regular schedule next week. And remember to follow everywhere: Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music. Just please, it really helps. Share it with the people you like. I really would like to get this thing on another level. And if you enjoy it, just let me know. But yeah, I don't have anything else for you. So I will see you next week.